The 2026 WNBA season is upon us, and we need to get ready for it. What better way than by criticizing GMs? Welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Okay, so every year for the past, I don't know how many years, the WNBA does a survey of all its GMs about what they think is going to happen in the upcoming season. Let's take a look at the interesting questions and figure out if those GMs were right or wrong. Looking at the questions now. I'll go ahead and pull them up. I don't know if we'll do all of them because they might not all be interesting. That happens. Okay? But no time to waste. Let's get into it. And right off the bat, as I scroll to the top, the predictions: which team will win the 2026 WNBA Finals? Wouldn't we all like to know? The number one response, last year's champs, the Las Vegas Aces with 40%. Number two, New York Liberty, 33%. And third, the Atlanta Dream, 27%. Last year, Minnesota was number one with 60% of the votes. This certainly feels right as far as the Aces being number one is concerned. That run last season as an Aces fan was unreal. They were dead in the water for much of the season, it felt like. And then Asia Wilson did Asia Wilson things. And next thing you know, they're winning their third title in 4 years. All of the main pieces are back. Jewel Lloyd came back. I was kind of curious to see how that went, but she did seem to get more comfortable in her role towards the end of the season and in the postseason. I think we get a full year of Nalissa Smith on the Aces. Dana Evans was huge in the finals in particular. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus give Asia some help down low. I know she came back at the end after pregnancy, which is incredible, by the way. I've got a 9-month-old, and I have seen up close and personal what childbirth looks like. And if I had to go through it, we would be talking about when and if I would ever walk again, much less play professional basketball. So shout out to her. The big move the Aces made was signing Kennedy Carter out of the league last year, a quote unquote locker room concern. This is just such a low risk, high reward move, because when Kennedy is focused and locked in, she is one of the more explosive guards in the W. They have a strong locker room there in Vegas. That core has been together forever. Becky Hammon, she doesn't mess around as the coach. And so if it works out, well, now you've got this incredible scorer, this incredible basketball player coming off the bench for you. And if it doesn't work out, you just cut her and move on. So I know it had been rumored that they were going to do this last season. They were going to sign her. Probably good that she took a year away playing in other leagues. And I was shocked that no other teams, I haven't seen anything about the conversation of other teams going to sign her. But I was kind of shocked that no one else gave her a look, if for no other reason, just to keep her away from the Aces. But I guess the plus is that there's only one basketball, so she can only score so much because, everyone else needs to score too. But with her running with the second unit, I think that's just a huge get for the Aces. So I agree. You got to beat the champs to be the champs. Vegas should be number one. With the Liberty being number two, I do not know when these GMs got this survey, because I know this was released before news came out about Sabrina Ionescu's ankle injury. It's the same ankle injury, I believe, that the same ankle, she's hurt the same ankle that bothered her first year, her rookie season, cost her most of that. So they're going to have an uphill battle from the jump. For me, I've got them somewhere between a championship tier team and just a playoff contender. I know they got a new head coach, Chris DeMarco. You really can't get a feel in preseason because it's just 2 or 3 games of how these players look in the system. You lose Ionescu. You also bring in Satu Sabally and Beck Allen, but they don't really get any run in the system in front of us as they work to get in. I think it's a DNP, return to play conditioning, or whatever they call it. And I'm actually not that high on the Satu signing. She's had injury issues. She was mostly healthy with Phoenix last year. So hopefully she's healthy for New York this year. But I think her strength as a scorer feels redundant on this team. So it's kind of similar to what I said about Kennedy. Like, there's only one ball to go around, except for Satu to be what I think they need her to be championship contenders. I think she would need the ball more. And the issue with that is that she can shoot you out of games as well. Speaking of that, whenever Ionescu gets healthy, she's someone who can also shoot you out of games. Sabrina and Stewie, each of their 3-point shooting efficiency numbers have gone down the past couple of seasons to almost like a confusing level. Stewie was great in that series they lost to the Mercury last year in the playoffs, especially game 3. She was the only Liberty player that really showed up, and she's still an elite 2-way player, but it's the 3-point shooting that added another dynamic to her offensive game and opened things up even more for her teammates that has disappeared. She was 38% for much of her career, down to 24% last season. And to her credit, she does take fewer 3-pointers, whereas Satu and Sabrina, they're getting them up regardless. But if that hasn't returned, I am curious. They managed okay with it last year, but that is just something to keep an eye on. For me, the Sabrina stuff, even more of a red flag, because that is her main weapon. I guess it's 1A, 3-point shooting, 1B, some playmaking stuff. You get Marine Johannes back. What else do we have here with New York? The other huge concern, speaking of the Mercury series last year, and just the whole time with New York after they've assembled this super team, Jonquel Jones is really the key to unlocking that championship tier for them. MVP talent, has won an MVP award, but she looked like someone who quit on this team in game 3, and that is not an unusual thing for her since coming to the Liberty. Like, she'll have stretches of games where she just looks completely disinterested or more focused on what calls she is or isn't getting. And she's basically a zero out there for them, or a negative. And if they're going to win a championship, that just can't be the case. So I think this has the potential to be a great team, but I think there are a lot of question marks. I didn't even mention they don't really have a point guard. I guess the plan was to have Sabrina run the point. I don't know if she's not a true point guard. And I'm not sure. She's a great playmaker, but I'm not sure as a primary point guard if she is a championship level playmaker. That could just be me being too critical. I don't know. But I am, as I think we will see throughout the rest of this conversation, incredibly biased to teams that have elite true point guards, like the Aces with Chelsea Gray. So a couple of concerns with the Liberty. Again, this is not going to be a bad team. I just question, can they get it all the way to the finish line with what they have currently? And again, I don't think the GMs did not have the Sabrina stuff. She should come back from everything I've read. It's not as severe as the rookie season injury, but some question marks there. Atlanta, the Atlanta Dream coming in third. Big news. I like it. I think they had a fantastic first year under Carl Smesko last year, first in the East. We knew, just based on what we'd seen of him as a coach, that they were going to improve offensively. Honestly, they couldn't have gotten any worse offensively because it was dark times. They finished top 4 in offensive rating, 3-pointers made, assists per game, and led the league in fewest turnovers a game. The surprise for me was their defense was also very good. They were top 4 in defensive rating, defensive rebounds, blocks per game, and fewest fouls per game. The blocks per game could go down with Brittany Griner leaving. I think overall it will remain the same. They have 3 of the best perimeter defenders in the league in Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, and Jordan Canada. They should be better with another year in Smesko's system, and they've been rounding out the roster to fit that system. I would like to see them take more twos and be more aggressive going to the basket. Specifically, Specifically, Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard. I guess I didn't have enough pre-show tea. In my mind, great high-value three-point shooting offenses are about creating space to get easier two-point opportunities. I think the team as a whole needs to do this more often. Ryan in particular, when she makes up her mind to go to the basket, she is very hard to stop. So I would like for her to make up her mind to do that more often. The big offseason acquisition, Angel Reese, got her from the Sky. Everyone, myself included, loves this move. I think it is a very good fit for this team. Elite rebounder on both ends. High motor. Will get out and run in transition. I don't know. You see the jump shot starting to develop. She is a good playmaker for her position too, a willing passer. I just think that this is a very good move for them. I'm excited to see what she ends up doing there. Alicia Gray, one of the best two-way players in the league, all WNBA first team last year. She can shut down the opposing team's best perimeter scorer, and she can get her own buckets. mentioned Canada. How effective she is on offense depends on how well she shoots from three. Her most improved player season, she hit a third of her threes on just over 3 attempts per game. That was a career high for her. That's not a high bar. Like hitting 1 out of every 3 threes you take is not a high bar. Can she do that? That's going to open up everything else for everybody else. As far as the rest of the roster, I do think they have some very nice bench pieces. 6th player of the year, Naz Hillman, of course. Tahina Pow looked great as a rookie, came in, knew her role, played it. And, a couple of things to work on defensively and whatnot, but looked great. How much has she improved in the offseason? The concern for me is a lack of size. You have Bree Jones, who is great. They drafted Medina Akat, who is like, you see the potential there. Is she ready to contribute immediately? I would say probably not. So what else do we have other than that? The other concern would be toughness. Felt like in that first round series against the Fever last year, they just got bullied out of the first round. Their threes weren't falling. They kind of just shrugged. How have they grown from that? And I also expect Angel to help with that. I think that having them as a championship favorite, not that crazy. It was curious to me that the Fever were not here, because I'm going to pull up what they did last season. I mean, this was a team, if Kelsey Mitchell doesn't catch cramps, they could have been playing for a championship last year, and they did that without Caitlin Clark. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell was unreal. And they've added some very good pieces in the offseason, too. You got Monique Billings. You got Ty Harris, who I think is a great third guard off the bench, can knock down threes and run your offense. Drafted Raven Johnson out of South Carolina. She has looked really good in the 3 preseason games, I think. I know there's been some talk about how much time she's going to get at point guard, because you've got obviously Caitlin Clark returning. We didn't see her after the All-Star break last season. So I was intrigued. I just did a little for a team that did so well, made it so far last season, and they're getting their best player back, according to many. And they added a lot of nice pieces as well. That was just curious to me. All right, moving on. Who will win MVP? 60% think it's going to be A'ja Wilson. 27% Breanna Stewart. Also receiving votes, Caitlin Clark and Alicia Gray. I mean, who is A'ja? Is A'ja? I think what it's going to come down to is voter fatigue, and the fact that A'ja has reached the point where she's being compared to herself versus the rest of the league. Like, we're not looking so much at how A'ja is compared to Fee or Stewie or Caitlin Clark, because it seems to be as near of a consensus as you can get that A'ja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA. So now we're just saying, is she reaching the A'ja Wilson standard? How fair is that? I don't know. But she's won 4 MVPs in 8 years, I believe she's been playing. And you could make a case that she should have gotten the one that Stewie got a couple years ago. I would bet on her winning her 5th in 9 years, which is absurd to even be talking about. Like, GOAT conversations to me are silly. I'd rather hear about your favorite player. But if we're talking about like most accomplished players, who has the resume of an A'ja Wilson? Who's had it through their first 8 seasons of playing basketball, men's or women's? And we got 4 MVPs, I think 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 3 WNBA titles. Hell of a resume. Number 2, Breanna Stewart. I can't decide if she's lost a step or not, or if it's just me being too aware of the 3-point shooting. I know she came into last season off of knee surgery, and I do wonder how much that had to do with a little bit of a dip in play. And then you see her in that game 3 against the Mercury, and you're like, no, she's still got it. And she's going to have an opportunity with Sabrina being out. I would imagine a lot of the load falls on her, and that would help her chances. Also receiving votes, Caitlin Clark and Alicia Gray. I mean, Big Al was huge last year for the Dream, and we know what that Fever offense can look like with Clark there. I think the case does get harder for her after seeing what the Fever did without her last season, though. Like, I think they're going to have to look so good that I think that would make it tough on her. So the loudest question in this survey that has gained a ton of attention: if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the WNBA, who would it be? Number 1, Paige Beckers, 33% of the vote. Tied for second at 20%, Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson. Third, Dominique Malonga, 13%, also receiving votes. Stewie and Fee, last year, overwhelmingly 50%, Caitlin Clark. So let's see if we can figure out why that is. Starting with, I'll pull up Clark's stats real quick. A'ja is lower because A'ja is older. So these other players, in theory, have an extra 6-8 years longer left on their careers than A'ja. I think that is why she is not the overwhelming number 1 pick. So I can't really argue with that. I get it. If you're starting a franchise today, then you would like to have, if we say A'ja has 4 years left of her prime versus 10 for Paige, or 8 for Caitlin, and maybe they haven't even entered their prime yet, then yes, let's do it. And you consider all of the ticket sales and this, that, and the other. Beautiful. So I don't take too much of an issue with that. But looking at why Caitlin may have dropped, she was banged up when she did play. Only played 13 games. Shooting splits, 37% from the field, 28% from 3. 5 turnovers a game. I mean, the turnovers improved by half a turnover a game from her rookie to her sophomore season. But everything else, other than assists and steals, but everything else went down. Fewer rebounds, fewer points, shooting percentages went down. And then, even just looking rookie season, let's see, we got 19 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. We go to Paige. Nine, 19 points. Didn't have as many assists and rebounds as Caitlin, but 3.5 fewer turnovers per game. Showed the 3-point range, 33%, 48% from the field overall, which is incredibly more efficient than Caitlin Clark as a rookie, and definitely last year. And 33% is just a tick behind what Caitlin was doing as a rookie, although Caitlin does shoot more threes. So when you consider that, You're like, okay, offensively, if we consider for turnovers, close. Defensively, Paige is just flat out better. And then I also wonder if the GMs are thinking fan bases, these coaching seats get really high. I mean, people were wanting to fire Stephanie White at a certain point during last season. The players who play beside Caitlin, they catch a lot of heat. Even if it's Caitlin stinking it up, then the fingers are pointed at her teammates. I wonder how much of that plays a role in it. I think we're seeing some of the Paige fan base do this as well. I think anytime you get a very big fan base, you're going to have crazies in it. And the way that parasocial relationships are, I don't understand them, but that seems to be a factor. But it seems to be less of an issue with Paige fans, which is not to say they're angels, but less of an issue with Paige fans than it is with Clark fans at this point. And this makes sense to me. When I'm thinking about it, I believe that Paige Beckers is the better player. So, yeah, I would start a team with her first. And if you really want to get into it, like leadership, who do you think other players would want to play with? Like, we see Caitlin crashing out all the time, refs, teammates, whatever. And they had I think Wright Thompson did the article, Caitlin's senior year, about kind of what it was like being her teammate. And it was tough. And Kate Martin kind of had to act like a liaison and between Caitlin and the rest of the team. And it was just a whole lot going on, more in line with the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant teammate philosophy of ruling with an iron fist. Whereas Paige seems to be in more of the LeBron style of a teammate of, I'm not gonna do this in public. We're not gonna yell at you in public and do all that. So I think there are several reasons why you would take Paige over Caitlin, as devastating as that may be to some. I am interested to see Dominique Malanga. And I think it's neat to see her on this list because had a great season, but kind of flew under the radar just by virtue of Seattle being Seattle. But I think she can lead them back to being one of the marquee franchises. Very quickly here, which player forces you to make the most adjustments? Asia, of course. Alyssa Thomas, number 2. Asia got 60% of the vote. Alyssa Thomas, 13. Other receiving votes: Caitlin, Nafisa, Kelsey, and Breanna Stewart. Wonderful. Not much to add there. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season? Tied for first, Dominique Malanga, 15% of the vote, and Rakia Jackson with the Sky. So let's pull up Dom last year. I agree with this, especially watching her in Unrivaled, which I think is more of a league that is biased towards guards. I think it's easier for guards to operate there because there's just more space and guards love to operate in space. I think she did very well. It forces bigs to defend on the perimeter and guard pick and rolls and in different actions that you need to be able to guard if you're going to be an elite defensive big. And I think she really held her own. Fourth in the sixth player of the year voting last season, really came on late in the season. Pull up these splits. So a fantastic August. 13 points, 7 rebounds. a block a game in 22 minutes. A little dip in September, but it was just 3 games. If this 13-7-1 is a full season, then yeah, I think it's going to be hard for anyone to top that. And then Rakia going to the Sky. This was an interesting trade for me because the Sparks traded Rakia for Ariel Atkins. But I think it is good for Rakia because there's a lot going on with that Sparks offense where I think they're going to make, this is a playoff team, but I think Rakia has the skill set to be a featured number one option on the team as a scorer. And I don't, that just wasn't going to happen in Los Angeles with the Sparks, okay? They just have a lot going on in terms of players who want the ball. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I was a player who wanted the ball. But I think here, when you look at this roster, and you've got a Skylar Diggins who's going to get you the ball. You got a Natasha Cloud who's going to get you the ball. And you look up and down the roster and who really fills that wing scoring role for them. Well, it's nobody. Like, they need that much more than the Sparks needed it. So I think this is going to be a very good season for Rakia, who averaged 15 a game last year. I think we could see that get very close to 20 a game, and these shooting percentages go up, these efficiency numbers. So I like that pick. I do want to look at a couple of these other players because some of these picks were a little wild to me. Cam Brink. I would love to have a Cam Brink breakout season myself. I think she's a highly skilled player. The problem is Cam Brink cannot play without fouling. It is unreal. Look at these numbers last season. Like 6 games with 4+ fouls. And it's not like she's playing a ton of minutes. She did not play more than 18 minutes, 19 minutes in a game last year. And she just can't help herself. And you just can't have a breakout season if you are on the bench in foul trouble. They seem to be calling it tighter in preseason too, but I take that with a grain of salt because sometimes they're just trying to set the tone for the rest of the year. Then they ease up. But it doesn't matter if they ease up because I've never seen her not foul. I mean, as a rookie, before she got hurt, 4 fouls a game in 22 minutes. She did the same thing at Stanford where she fouled a lot. So she's going to have to be on the court, number one. The other issue, again, is the Sparks offense is going to go through a lot more players before we get to Cameron Brink. Because you look, we've got Atkins, Ray Burrell, you got De'Erica Hamby, Kelsey Plum, Nneka Ogwumike is back. That's 5 players right there who need the ball. And there's not a point guard on this roster either. So they're going to go with Plum at point guard again, it would seem. I would say we kind of got a taste of that. Well, not even, we got like a full meal of that last year. And I wasn't incredibly impressed. I think that is going to be a huge limiting factor to their team as a whole. Although, again, I do think they'll make the playoffs. I would actually argue that for this team, the better post player would be Sanaya Fagan. She is a player who doesn't need the ball necessarily, to score. Didn't get a huge sample size, 5 minutes a game for her last year, and not great efficiency. But based on her time at South Carolina, doesn't need the ball to score, can score when she gets it, either in the post or she has a nice jumper. Great defender, great post defender, is going to battle on the boards, and again, doesn't foul to the extent that Brink does. So that's not to say that Fagan is more skilled than Brink, but I think for this team in particular, Fagan might be the better answer than Brink. Let's go back to our survey tab. You got a couple of Connecticut players on there, Kennedy Burke and Layla Lacan. That's going to be an interesting team because that is a very young team and there's going to be plenty of opportunities. So you would think someone would step forward and have a breakout season. The Marina Mabry Toronto vote, whoever's there, is whoever made that vote, please shoot me an email because I'm very curious about your thought process there. I think that we kind of know what Mabry is as a player. So they would have to, she would have to do something that she would have to change who she is for a breakout to happen. I think she is best in the role that Connecticut had her in when she was there for half a season or whatever. I think the numbers probably bear that out too. That's definitely when she was the most efficient from three. She is most likely, just going back, let's go back to the roster, going to be the number one option. I do not think she is a number one option as a scorer. I think she struggles to create her own offense, needs a lot of screens, because I don't think she's great at creating space. So she would have to do something where now she is great at creating space to have a true breakout. Even if Brittany Sykes is the number one option and Marina is number two, I still don't see that happening. Just looking at the Tempo roster, this is interesting. I mean, they've got some pieces that they've got solid role players, which you need. And you can kind of get an idea for what they're building towards just based on the pieces that they've put together. Isabel Harrison's here, Lexi Held, Aaliyah Nye, draft pick Kiki Rice. I see the vision. They're going to have to hit on a draft pick here in the next 2 or 3 years to really tie it all together, or a free agent. But I see the vision much more than, let's go to the Portland Fire. I don't really see the vision as much here. The other expansion team, that could just be a me thing. I've been wrong before, but I don't really know who the headliner is, which could we see a breakout season from one of these players? I mean, you got Bridget Carlton. She was great. She's been great for the Lynx. Emily Inksler, Megan Gustafson, Haley Jones, who jumped her out a lot last year, but maybe she's found a home here. Could be one of the Fire players, Sarah Ashley Barker, maybe. Again, not really seeing the vision, but someone has to score. So who will it be? All right, going back to the survey. Best point guard in the league, 73% Chelsea Gray, 20% Caitlin Clark, 7% Paige Beckers. Last year, it was 50-50, Gray and Clark. Best shooting guard, 27% Jackie Young, 20% Paige Beckers. That was interesting because a couple of these players are splitting votes between two positions. Pretty much every one of these questions, that's what's going on. Because we've got Asia is both the best forward and the best center. So I don't know how I feel about that question. That question is kind of silly. Which team made the best overall offseason moves? 47% Dallas Wings, 33% Atlanta Dream. Also receiving votes, Chicago, Las Vegas, New York. We talked about what Atlanta did, particularly with Angel Reese. Let's take a look at the Wings real quick, because they did make a lot of moves, most of them at the expense of the Minnesota Lynx. And they have new coach Jose Fernandez. So you got Beckers. They obviously drafted AZ Fudd, number 1 overall. They still have Arike. Brought in Jessica Shepard and Alana Smith. Alana Smith was the co-defensive player of the year with Asia last season when she was in with Minnesota. Shepard and Smith were with Minnesota. And Odyssey Sims. Is this the year we get an Odyssey Sims home? Because she was a huge reason why the Fever were so good even without Clark last year. But she's just been jumping around. She's been in Dallas a couple of times here recently since 2023. She's spent, I guess not last year, but 2023 and 2024, parts of the season in Dallas, and 2016. So now she's back. Interesting career. Really up and down career, and hasn't been able to find a true home, but has been effective several different places. I don't know. Someone going to have to explain that to me. That also gives them a lot of options as far as what they do, because they do seem to like Paige at the point, but Paige can play off the ball. And if you've got Odyssey there running the point, she is an effective point guard. That will be good for them. And you still have Arike, so you could run a lineup with Paige, Odyssey, Arike, and you take your pick between Alana, Jessica Shepard, and who knows who else, Lee Yeru, Maddie Segrest, who is really good. So, yeah, I like their moves. I don't know how much of that vote factored in what AZ may or may not do this year. I'm hesitant to expect anything of rookies. And she's going to be behind Arike, I would imagine. So I don't. Expectations are already out of control. I'm a little more cautious with my feelings on that. But I do like what they did. Which player acquisition will make the biggest impact? Tied for first. Angel Reese, Gabby Williams. I think that is fair. NECA coming in third at 20%. Then Satu, New York, 13%. Again, not a huge fan of that move. Not that it's a bad move, but I think it's going to have a limited impact on what New York does. Let's take a look at Golden State and Gabby Williams, what she's going to have to work with there. They just released Kate Martin, and that has gone over about as well as you would expect on social media. Made the playoffs last year as an expansion team. Do not expect either of the expansion teams this year to make the playoffs. So we got Gabby, Kayla Thornton, Tiffany Hayes, Caitlin Chin, Veronica Burton, who was last year's breakout star, I feel like. Well, she did win most improved player. Great two-way point guard, 12 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. I would imagine they would make the playoffs again this year. I think people are salty about them because of the Flaugier trade on draft night where they drafted her 8th and then traded her for Marta Suarez and another pick, I believe, and then cut Suarez. That's just one of those things that dealing with the draft, the W draft, seems to be tricky. Hold on, let me share the Valkyries roster. It seems to be tricky for everyone because, again, it is hard for a rookie to make an instant impact. And if you need the roster space or the salary cap space, although I don't think it's a guaranteed contract unless it's a lottery pick. And then I think it becomes guaranteed if a first-round draft pick makes it out of training camp. But then, like, what would you prefer? Like, we don't really need Flaugier right now, so at least that's what they were thinking. So let's just cut her at the end of training camp or try to get someone else for her. I don't know. So it's tough. It's weird. But I do think they will make the playoffs again this year. Let's go back to our predictions. Most underrated player acquisition, Atkins and Alana Smith, tied for first at 21%, then Rakia Jackson. Underrated. I think it's going to be someone off this board. Could it be Kennedy Carter? I don't think it's one of these players. So that's going to be fun to kind of keep track of. Most surprising move of the offseason, Satu going to New York, 23%, Angel to Atlanta, 15%, Alana to Dallas, 15%. To me, it was Angel to Atlanta because you knew she wanted out, but her going to a team that finished first in the East last year, and they didn't really have to give up a ton to get her, at least of their key pieces, that was a surprise to me. I heard Satu to New York before free agency last season. Not a huge shock there. Most improved team, Dallas, number 1, 67%. Chicago, number 2 at 20%. Los Angeles, number 3 at 13%. Let us ponder this, okay? Let's see. So, pulling up last year, you would think it would have to be Dallas or Chicago because they were so bad. I don't know if Chicago, they've added a lot, okay? It will be a better team. I think they'll finish around the 500 mark, which would be a massive improvement. To me, Dallas is going to be better than Chicago, and by virtue of that, would be the most improved team. How can they get to this fever mark of 24-20 last year? That would be huge for them. So yeah, let's go with Dallas there. Now, infinitely more interesting. We just talked about the issues with the rookies and all they have stacked against them. Who will win the 2026 WNBA Rookie of the Year? Number 1, overwhelming favorite, Olivia Miles with Minnesota, 73% of the vote. Number 2, AZ Fudd, 20% of the vote. Number 3, Flaugier in Seattle, 7% of the vote. Olivia, it would appear, is going to get a lot of playing time early on and will have a lot of responsibility with Fee being out at least the first month of the season, I believe. So that is a point in her favor. Flaugier, everything in preseason I take with a grain of salt. But she has looked really good for Seattle in the preseason. I would have Lauren Betts as my favorite. I think we'll pull up the Mystics roster. This is a team that's a young team. They're not looking to compete. I think she's going to get a lot of opportunity. I think they're trying to figure out how all this looks moving forward, what pieces are valuable, which pieces, why are those pieces valuable? Are they valuable for the franchise? Are they valuable as trade assets? You do have Shakira Austin here in the post as well. But let's see if she is healthy. Or if I'm thinking of a different season. I'm trying to keep track of everyone's injury. It's not as easy as it seems. Okay, I believe she is healthy right now. And that would obviously cut into Bet's opportunities a little bit. But I do think they're going to play her a lot. Yeah, she's day-to-day, but it doesn't say why. That could just be that's why, okay, I did see her on the injury report, day-to-day. Not sure why. It could just be, it's training camp, preseason. We're just trying to keep everyone healthy. Why is my screen not sharing? All right. All right. Let's operate as though none of that happened. Technical difficulties. It happens. So I don't know what happened, but Shakira Austin is apparently healthy and she will get playing time. I think she takes priority over Betts, but it's probably very close to 50-50. So I've got Betts is my favorite. I think Miles is number 2 and then Flau'jae number 3. Moving on to the rest of the rookie questions. Which rookie would be the best player in 5 years? Awa Pham, Seattle, 67%. Olivia Miles, Minnesota, 33%. I have not seen her play enough to say one way or the other, but I'm excited just based on how everyone talks about her. Biggest steal of the draft at where she was selected. We got Nell Angloma, Connecticut, 21%, who I've not seen play, but now this has my attention. And again, I think Connecticut is going to be one of those teams where they're just playing everybody. They're getting ready to move back to Houston. They're just trying to see what they have in terms of franchise value and assets. Tied at number 1, Tanaya Latson, Los Angeles, 21%. This is an interesting spot for her because, again, I don't know how much time she's going to get with that roster. But I think as a second, on her second team, I think she's going to be really good. You got Flau'jae, third, 14%, and then a bunch of other votes everywhere else. Best international player, Jonquel Jones from the Bahamas. This was interesting. Which country outside the U.S. is producing the best WNBA talent? France, 100%. That is going to be interesting come 2028 Olympics, especially after seeing what happened in 2024 and almost killed me. And we got some defensive questions, which is all about Asia Wilson and Gabby Williams. Coaches, best head coach, Cheryl Reeve, Minnesota, 53%. Becky Hammond, Las Vegas, 40%. But then which head coach is the best motivator of people? It's overwhelmingly Becky. And that kind of feels like the Dawn Staley thing where I don't think Becky is getting enough credit for her X's and O's because she has so much talent. And I don't know how fair that is. But it is what it is. I mean, Cheryl Reeve is a very good coach. What else do we have here? Which team will be the most fun to watch? Dallas, 36%. Atlanta and Indiana tied for second at 29%, and Golden State at 7%. Man, I kind of think Atlanta, number 1. Most athletic player, we're just skipping through now. Brittany Sykes, Toronto, 31%. I would say that is very accurate. The Tweety Nolan comps, Dominique Malanga, number 2 at 15%. Who do you want taking the shot with the game on the line? Tied for Asia, Chelsea Gray, and third is Jackie Young. All Las Vegas Aces. Pretty good for the Aces. And which change to the league this year will require the biggest adjustment? Number 1, development player spots. Number 2, new expansion teams. 3, new CBA. 4, World Cup break. I think any break is usually welcomed. So, but I am curious to see how that affects things. But yeah, the development player spots, that's really interesting. We already saw the Storm do that with their first round pick, Mare out of Duke, and they cut her but signed her to a development spot, which I don't know if that's what you want to do with your first round pick. And that's the team that got Flaugier and has her in the mix. So, but I think it is a better option for first round picks who aren't quite ready than just outright cutting them. Or we see, like with the Sky, they just cut Haley Van Lith, who was picked up by Connecticut. And she was their first round pick last year. So, okay, who did we not talk about? Let's start with, we touched on the Lynx and what they got going on with Fee being hurt and losing Shepard and Smith. Still have Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams. I don't know. This is going to be tough for them to start the season without Fee, and I don't know what they're going to do about both Smith and Shepard leaving. Phoenix Mercury, it appears no one believes in them, because like this was a finals team. They got swept, but this was a finals team. They were close in 2 of those games, and you don't really see them. They weren't mentioned in any of the contender questions there for the GMs. You still have Alyssa Thomas. They did lose Satu Sabali. It was weird that they did not really make a move for a post player when that was the glaring weakness in the finals. So I thought that they would maybe be in on the Alana Smith thing, but they weren't. We will see what they look like this year. I know Kalia Copper was banged up last year. Is she healthy? When she is healthy, obviously she's great. How much longer can Alyssa Thomas do this? How much are they relying on Dewana Bonner, who I think the father time is catching up to, unfortunately. I mean, she's been doing it 16 years. So that happens. So I get the air of pessimism surrounding them. Mystic Storm. I think we've covered everybody. In spite, we have survived the technical difficulties as well, I hope. I will see when I edit this. But yeah, going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it. I've been waiting forever for this. The offseason was nuts with the compressed schedule because of the CBA negotiations. So really didn't give me a chance to dive into each of those things as much as I have in past years. But now the games are starting. And so the plan is to cover everything regularly with these Yap sessions. So we will see. Appreciate you watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. Don't forget to head over to brandonsilvers.com and subscribe to my newsletter, Weekly Sports Watch Guide. Every sporting event you need to pay attention to will be on there, as well as reasons why, including WNBA games. So thank you for supporting that. And yeah, I will catch you later.